What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I am your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm in the house. And today we're going to be talking about 7 horrible nutrition habits that are ruining your progress. And this was inspired basically a couple weeks ago. It was actually episode 696. We talked about 7 nutrition mistakes that a lot of you are making. So this episode is going to be a little bit different in terms of just talking about the daily habits that you may have. And this is even calling myself out because these are things that I've believed in the past. These are things that I've done in the past. And if you are someone that is in this situation, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't beat yourself up. But what needs to happen is you need to make changes and start by one habit at a time, and you'll be able to make some incredible progress long term. And the first and unfortunate common mistake people make within their habits is just overeating healthy foods. So I can see why a lot of people think that this is going to help them because there are a lot of health benefits to some of these foods. And I'm thinking stuff like nuts, avocados, even oil, whatever the case is. I see so many people who don't keep track of calories who consistently overconsume without realizing it. So this one tip here is one of the hidden habits that you may not realize because you don't really see what's going on. Whereas everything else we're going to be talking about, it's pretty simple to notice and to pinpoint what's actually happening. But I've had this happen numerous times in my life, especially when I started my journey. I remember I used to struggle because I would always tell myself, I'm eating healthy, I'm preparing whole foods, I'm doing all this great stuff. And then the scale never budged. I never made progress. Next thing you know is just I was overloading with a lot of things that I thought was good for me, and there are health benefits, but my calories were out of control. Even some friends I'll see, they'll send me different meals, or I've had one friend specifically, he just like, man, like what's wrong? Like this is healthy, right? I'm like, it is healthy, but it's an extra however amount of calories that's gonna potentially be added on when it's not needed. So this thing alone will make such a big difference. Make sure you're keeping track of calories. That's honestly the easiest fix, and it'll change the game for you.
Yeah, this is so well said. And too much of anything is bad for you. And in general, I think this is where labeling foods as good and bad is a little bit dangerous. I really like that 80-20 rule where you aim for healthy foods and you have 20% fun. But obviously the primary goal should be calories because that's going to indicate calories in, calories out. That's going to allow you to make change and see progress. I've used the peanut butter example before when I worked at the smoothie bar and they'd ask for more smoothie. But just the same, people say, hey, olive oil is really good. I love olive oil, so I'm just going to load it up. And then they're like, okay, and I love avocado is so good. It's the best. But you could have easily like 700 calories of olive oil and avocado. And I know that sounds absurd, but even like guac, like these things, they're good, but they're calories as well. And just the same fruit, phenomenal. It's amazing. I love pineapple, but you can go absolutely nuts on pineapple too. And I used to love almonds, but it's amazing. When I was bulking, I would eat almonds because they're pretty caloric. And does that make them a bad food for you? Absolutely not. They're very rich in energy, and this is actually a great thing. But when you just label it as, oh, it's healthy, so I can eat as much of it as I physically desire, you're just going to end up overeating on healthy foods. And the quality of your food will be better, but you'll still be in a surplus, and this might actually be inhibiting you from seeing progress. So that's where this entire mindset shift of just good and bad, and instead say, okay, like if I want to have 600 calories of olive oil, power to you, but you got to fit that in. You got to make it work. If you want to have more guac, you got to fit that in. You got to make that work. So just something to consider. And just the same, it stops you from demonizing things and it creates more balance. And then secondly would be just snacking in general. So snacking will have a time and a place, and it can be okay to really tide you over between meals if it's something you enjoy. I know some people would rather have 8 small meals in a day than 2 or 3 big ones. Some people would rather have 1 big meal. There isn't necessarily one that's better than the other because ultimately it comes down to what's best for you. You need to find what's most optimal for you in your journey. I really prefer a massive lunch and a massive dinner with little to no snacking. I find that makes me feel way better. If I have snacks, it's very easy to be peckish and just be grabbing things. You have one snack, you grab a couple others, and before you know it, you're having like 600 calories of snacks. And that really restricts you for dinner. And then when I feel like I'm getting shortchanged on dinner, I like a second portion. I feel like that's when I really struggle and I feel the most hungry, and it really messes me up. Whereas I have an easier time, like the structure I most enjoy personally, and this may not work for you, it may, is I have about a 500 calorie breakfast. I'll usually have a pretty massive lunch, and then I'll usually just have a small protein snack of like 100, 200 calories of protein and veggies. From there, I'll kind of move into not eating till a big dinner, and then I'll cap that for the night. And that's where I have the most success. I actually find dieting the easiest on that. Just the same, you might prefer 6 really small meals and you're eating all the time and you feel better. So you really do want to just limit on the snacking, grabbing stuff, because it's just really detrimental and it can be hard to stop. And especially at night, if you just find you never succeed when you snack at night because you eat something, you taste something good and immediately you need more, you might want to evaluate that and perhaps avoid that altogether. And especially too, if you find you're going over your calories quite significantly or the quality of your snacking foods is really poor, I'd recommend just switching snacks to veggies and protein options only, because generally these are going to help support your goals. They're going to be really dense in like just how full you feel with them, and is a great pivot to make.
And next up, simply skipping meals or over restricting. So I know a lot of people think that they may be doing the better thing by skipping meals. And oftentimes, once again, this is just a habit a lot of people have created just from being busy, from not planning ahead, and just letting life take over. So what I see coming from this habit often is a lot of people make the wrong decision because of it. You're super hungry, you're ravenous, you grab whatever it is that you see in front of you. You end up not hitting your protein because you end up running out of calories because you grabbed everything in sight, such as the nachos at happy hour time, whatever the case is. So making sure that you're actually planned, and that's where Josh's tip was so great of like actually having the specific routine of what works best for you will go such a long way. But even over restricting, I see a lot of people putting those labels on and consistently saying, I'm never going to have something, or just saying this is a bad food. So that's where you have to be careful, because a lot of times binging comes from doing these specific things of like constantly skipping meals, skipping breakfast even as well. If like you go through the day and it's just like you're crazy hungry, that's going to lead to some bad habits. Of course, depending on who you are and what kind of discipline you have, but I'd say for most people, it doesn't lead to great things. So make sure to avoid this, and I think you'll personally be in a better spot for sure.
Yeah, and the next biggest mistake you're probably making is always feeling the need to say yes to everything. So we've spoken about this before too, but in general, even yesterday, I had some extra calories. My buddy he's not the best with it. And we were like, he's like, ooh, do you want to get tacos, Kyle? And Kyle said, hey, I have no macros. It's not going to fit. I'd love to do it next week. And right away, instead of that pressure of just saying, hey, yes, let's do it, and he blows out his whole day, he blows out his week, he doesn't take his diet seriously, there's a snowball to that, right? And even just the same, you can always say, hey, I'll go, and like I personally don't want it, and that's a good solution as well. But when you feel like you need to say yes, or someone goes, hey, you want a drink, and you're like, you don't want to be awkward about it, and you just take it even though you don't want it, you're just hurting yourself. So it's really important, I always like to say, that you put your goals first, right? And you stick to your guns. And when you do that too, you feel like a lot more in control. So it's really easy. And just the same too, the phrase that's really helped me is I don't need it. There's a lot of the times like I just don't want something. So even Kyle's a big ice cream guy. My other buddy's a big ice cream guy. And like after volleyball, sometimes we win all games. So like to get an ice cream. Ice cream's okay to me. I don't care for it that much. Like I'd rather have another bowl of pasta or eat more food. Like I'm just more savory in that sense. So for me, a lot of times, perhaps you have this problem where you go out, everyone's getting ice cream. So you're just like, oh, I'll get an ice cream. Why not? You got to ask yourself, like, do you actually want it? Does it fit with your goals? And if you want it, power to you, get it, make it fit in. That's totally good. But you shouldn't just be saying yes, say yes to things. Like have some thought. And even we was talking about this with my wife today, and she made a good point too. It's like, if you want to do something more extravagant, you need to like make that sacrifice, right? Where like in the morning, I'll be like, okay, I'm having Greek yogurt. I'm going to be having this crazy dinner. I'm getting this deep dish pizza. It's going to be 1,500 calories. Around my day now, I need to be very reserved. Maybe I'll have a super healthy lunch. I'll protein fast. I'll have more veggies, more protein to build around that day. So instead of like just being like, oh, I'm having this fun thing for dinner, I'm just going to blow out the rest of my day too. And it's going to be a cheat day. And then by doing that, you really just blow out your calories in general, and you really cause this big hiccup to your success. It's like if you're saving, love this analogy, and then one day you just say, I'm buying this one expensive thing. So today's a no counting finance day. I'm going to go buy a new car. I'm going to buy a new house. I'm going to buy all new. You'd go broke. Like it's not how it works. And that's why I'm kind of against cheat meals. And I think if you're just saying yes to say yes to things, you really don't need to be doing that. Another thing I'm working on is just finishing everything. I have a bad habit where I always finish my food, even if I don't want it or I'm feeling full. And I've really been trying to be aware of that and like save some for later. And like, if I don't need to finish it, I'm not full. Like, it's just as wasteful just finishing something and having excess calories when you don't need it as it is to get rid of it. So that's something to consider. And one way I've combated this is not over ordering as well. I've made that mistake previously. So I know I took a little bit of a turn through this tip, but just some additional tips there.
Yeah, I think it's so important to realize those habits and the things that even could be adding an extra few hundred calories. Like that's what this whole episode's about, is like those little things that you may not realize, which is going to bring me into a very important one here, is just consistently needing food or a dessert after dinner. So I just find that a lot of times people need something to need it, right? And especially when you think about your day, typically speaking, 7 p.m., 8 p.m., you're tired, your willpower is pretty much drained because you've thought a lot, you've made a lot of decisions, maybe your kids have worn you out and work's worn you out, so you just need something to make you feel good, right? A lot of the things that you do are based off of the habits you've created in the past. So I know some people, if you grew up with your family and you always had a dessert, that's what you know, and that's what you're going to continue to do. If you always go out to eat and you have appetizers, that's typically what you know. So you have to just sit down and start to ask yourself, like, what it is that you want to be doing, right? And what is going to help support your goals. That's the most important thing to be asking. But I find even myself, sometimes I'll finish my meal, I'll look and be like, all right, what next? And once again, there are ways to combat this, and you can, of course, have a protein snack, and there's some different great options out there, low calorie popcorn. But at the same time, it's like you've just eaten an entire meal, you're totally satisfied, you don't really need something. So trying to break that habit and get rid of just constantly needing some sort of high sugar or whatever thing, dessert, just because, is a great habit to break. And I personally think a lot of people can save tons of calories. And using that example, I don't need it, I think is a really good way to approach it. So that's going to be number 5.
My next tip is just emotional or mindless eating. And this is one of the worst because naturally food tastes good. It can make you feel good. It's an amazing thing, but it shouldn't be a solution to you like eating your emotions. And this is a deeper level thing, but you should be able to analyze, am I actually hungry or am I just looking to feel better? And I've spoken to this before, but overeating isn't going to make you feel better. And you can end up in a weird vicious cycle where you're like trying to self-soothe by eating extra food. Then you're feeling unaligned with your goals and you feel miserable. And maybe you're doing more cardio and then you're off your diet. Like it's not a great response. So generally when you're feeling like bored or you're feeling sad or you're feeling whatever it may be, like you'll reach for something to make you feel better. But I really in turn challenge you to analyze that feeling and say, okay, how can I address that feeling and do something that'll actually make you feel better and not cause more harm, or really rationalize once again that you don't need it. And if you're hungry, eat something, that's totally fine. But just doing it mindlessly, even eating in front of the TV, is something I've really tried to avoid lately because it's just so easy to do it without any intention. Instead, when you eat, even really enjoy the food you eat, spend some time preparing it, cook some stuff you love, really savor every single bite, be excited about your food. It actually makes a big difference. So if you can really just limit just like pounding down food to get it down quick, or unnecessary snacking just because you need something with TV. Even for me, I've really just tried to enjoy that show, be present, just enjoy doing that one thing. I think you can really get in a slippery slope where you're watching a show, you're just eating food, you're scrolling Instagram, you're just doing as much as you can in terms of stimulus, and it's not a great feeling. So it's a good opportunity to really bring down that stimulus, be present, really enjoy what you're doing, and not try to solve that with overeating.
Yeah, and last but not least, very common habit that's holding a lot of people back is just consistently winging it. Those who are just going in with no game plan are the ones that are going to consistently fail. So a habit that you can have is just simply put, planning out your meals, planning out your dinners for the week, knowing what it is that you're going to be having roughly depending on what's going on. It's just going to make such a big difference, right? So I really, really encourage you to go in with a game plan. You can even pre-log. That could make a big difference on your journey. But yeah, I just find so many people, they have the habit of just being like, oh, well, I'll go with the flow, I'll do whatever. And that's like kind of on the topic of saying yes to everything. Those are the people that unfortunately struggle day after day after day. So once again, like when it comes down to it, it's all about the habits. Even James Clear in Atomic Habits, he had said, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the levels of your systems. And for this topic, I wanted to change it. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. So even if you have incredible goals, you want to lose 20 pounds, you want to build muscle, you want to do all these great things, but your habits are just horrible and you consistently snack and you consistently over restrict and you're trying, you have the right mindset, it's going to be very challenging. So I truly believe that on top of all these tips, having accountability and having someone give you parameters, specific numbers, a game plan, and actually help you through that will make such a big difference. If you want to learn more about our coaching program, we guarantee results. I promise you every tip that we incorporate every strategy we give you, it's going to change the game for you. And you're not going to be someone who just succeeds for a little bit of time, but for the rest of your life. So first link down below, apply for our coaching. I promise you it'll change your life. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.